supposed to be.
Would I pay handsomely to be Batman? You wouldn't even have to pay me to be Batman.
I subtly hinted at it 20 times in my last video. We're doing Batman. Nobody knows what's happening, nobody knows who the next Batman is gonna be. And I personally don't have a big opinion on it, who it's gonna be. Probably someone I don't know, because I think James Gunn is known to give roles, no matter how large they are, no matter how important they are for such a big, important studio release, to some lesser known actors. Some actors who wouldn't expect for a leading role in a big Hollywood blockbuster. But you saw the thumbnail, you read the title of the video, so you know there's one person in specific whose suggestion intrigued me more than all the other ones. Jack Reacher himself, Alan Ritchson. I'm sorry that's the only role I really know him from, but has made a name for himself in the last years as the new Hollywood big tough guy. And he's more than willing to do it, so I thought I could finally use my extremely niche hobby of photoshopping random people into random characters and see if Alan Ritchson could or should be the DCU's Batman. In the video I will talk a bit about what I expect from the new Batman and also compare him to the new Superman movie, the first and at this point only movie of the DCU, to just see some similar direction they seem to go in. And last I will see if I believe Alan Ritchson could fit that role, or what Batman I believe he is most likely to play if they do cast him. Now before we start the video, here's what I don't want to do. Look guys, here's Batman. Here's Alan Ritchson. Wow! Alan Ritchson is Batman! No, that's extremely boring and doesn't make for a good video. So with the following picture and my narration, I want to show you my vision, my idea, from the aesthetic to the story to just the design of this hypothetical Batman movie. So view the following as my personal pitch for the DCU's Batman, if they cast Alan Ritchson. Now, I want to get this out of the way because in the entire last video I never mentioned I'm actually photo editing something, and I just don't want the hours of my work to seem like random Subway Surfer background gameplay. I'm basing this suit heavily on the suit first created by Carmine Infantino during the Silver Age of comics, which was the 60s, in a way to modernize Batman. I plan to fully commit to this design, the wide eyes, the unreasonable shadow on his forehead, all of it. You will see I built the suit from the ground up, but for his helmet I already used an existing one, specifically the Batman suit from Batman vs Superman. I just really like the design, and I think the minimalistic design of the mask really fits for this aesthetic. Yes, I could have made one completely from the ground up, but I thought it would just take too long and it doesn't look very cool. And the reason I chose the suit, aside from it being such a banger, and the Brave and the Bold showing how cool it can look, because everyone knew as soon as the first pictures of Superman were leaked, the one thing we can expect from this new style of vision to go from is color. And now that the Superman movies finally came out, it gave us a clear style and vision to go from. Yes, I already talked about the fact there are gonna be lots of movies in the DCU that don't seem to share this style from the Superman movie, at least not the exact style. Still, Batman and Superman are way more likely to interact with each other than Supergirl and Clayface, so I believe there will be at least some even tone between the two. So from designing the suit to looking at the story we're going through later, I tried to design with the same style as Superman, but making something very different. Also, I tried to look at what the Batman movies never gave us. Batman has changed multiple times over the last 80 years. I wrote a whole essay about the comic book history leading up to this point, only to realize it has nothing to do with the overall video, so I cut it out. If you want more on it, watch the video about the Silver Age Batman by Salazar Knight. If you think, oh, I know the comic code authority, I basically know everything about 50s, 60s DC comics, you're dumb and wrong, and nobody laughed at your last joke, not because they didn't hear it, but because it sucked. So late in the 1960s, Julius Schwartz and later Neil Adams tried to take him back to his darker origins, while still keeping it child-friendly and YouTube censored for the comic code authority. These comics just ooze an extremely specific style to me. It's vibrant, and the night is dark but still a vibrant blue. Even though the villains wore zany suits and were gimmicky nature, they were still taken seriously and dangerous as criminals and killers. Obviously not as strong as later stories, but hey, it was the edgiest they had. Also, if for some reason you think that now, no, I don't think the Batman Brave and the Bold movie will be an adaptation of the Brave and the Bold cartoon. I just think they will share a lot of same DNA, but for very different reasons. These comics were a huge success in rebranding Batman, and I think this time gives us something very clear to use for designing this version of Batman. the difference between Batman and Superman. The difference they found was to make him the more grounded one. Not darker, but more grounded, closer to Earth. Not an alien, not fighting in space, still supernatural elements, but closer to the streets of Gotham. But how can you portray this difference in a universe where Superman is as close to the Earth as he can be? He's literally eating snow in his first scene. And I think the way is to make Batman more established, literally grounded in this world, because he helped build it up, this world of metahuman and superheroes. The only informations we were given about Batman in the DCU basically all say that he's been around for a while. We don't know for how long, but in Peacemaker, Peacemaker rants about his behavior and no-kill rule as something well-known and well-established. And we will come back to this scene later, trust me. And he's also shown later in Creature Commandos, in actual detail. Now, even though I take inspiration from the 60s, innocent, childlike Silver Age Batman, there's not really much I can base this story on here. Even though they were revolutionary for the time, these were still very freak-of-the-week stories. And to design the story, to give us something new, I would look at what we already have and take a look at the most recent Batman movies. I grew up in the 2010s and watched a lot of superhero movies, which I have basically seen rise and fall. And for some reason I saw getting into comics as a sort of diploma to become a real superhero fan. But what I very quickly realized is the absolute disconnect between the comics and the movie portrayal of some characters. And first and foremost, Batman. All media I consumed gave me the idea of him as a loner vigilante, inflicting his punishment on the wicked and unjust. Now, I want to get into the comics, and what I found is, and I mean it in the nicest way possible, Batman is just a single dad leading an army of Power Ranger kids. Basically lab rats. Oh, I just heard there was a female Robin. Okay, who the fuck is Ghostmaker? And of course, with so many people around, there can no longer be a loner archetype. If an army of French house fans are patrolling Gotham every night. And Japan. And the entire world. There will always be the, you're always gonna be alone, or maybe I should work alone, from Batman, but this is obviously presented as him being in the wrong, as the wrong mindset. The most common drama for a loner character is to confront his loneliness. But after you do that for 8 decades, of course the character will have to change. And I have to say, good for him. But when you adapt the movie of Batman, most start with his origin and the original darker nature. I personally think this is why Absolute Batman is doing so well, because it's giving people who want to get into comic books a version of Batman they expect, or at least know, from other media. But now nearly every big screen adaptation of Batman is adapting this dark tone, and it's only getting darker over time. And I'm not saying the DCU Batman should adapt Zebra or Zora or Batman, but there are many details about the Batman mythos the movie have cast aside for being too unrealistic. So here are my main points I expect the movie to definitely adapt where no other Batman movie has tried it thus far. First of all, the detective side. If the DCU is priding itself with its comic accuracy, I think finally showing Batman as the world's greatest detective is a must. Yeah, the Batman tried it, but solving the actual murder case wasn't really an objective in the movie, and I'm 100% certain this movie will finally tackle this, because this has really been around since the character's inception. And no matter how often I joke about comic accuracy, I really see people finally want this element of Batman to be adapted. Another thing is the martial aspect of Batman. Yes, movie Batman can fight, movie Batman can punch, but the main aspect of Batman's backstory is that he's a master of all martial arts in the world. Yes, Batman Begins made him a ninja, which I still can't take seriously, because the movie tried so hard to make me think this secret ninja cult who wants to gas a random town in Jersey is something deeply rooted in reality and so serious. It's not. Meanwhile, if they just admit to the unrealism of it and lean into it, it could suspend my disbelief and I just say, yo, that's cool and we can have some awesome fight scenes. Don't really know how you could factor his martial arts prowess into the story, but I just think a montage at the start would be cool enough and give a lot of fans what they wished for a long time. And lastly, speaking of unrealism and suspension of disbelief, Batman's gadgets, which we have seen before in Batman Forever, and obviously The Dark Knight, the movie that prides itself with a seriousness and realism where he has a machine that can summon bats. And his only weakness are dogs. I don't like this movie. As with the martial arts, don't shine away from it. Yes, it's unrealistic. I still want to watch it. But if they are doing Batman's gadgets in the new movie, I please don't do it in a too sci-fi way. The Arkham games featured the gadgets very prominently, but in Arkam Knight and some other movies, he's basically just Iron Man with a paint job. And I know the gadgets were an attempt to make him more sci-fi, but I'm just sick of modern superhero, mostly video games. People make fun of the MCU lines on costumes. I never minded that, but why does every tank top has to have RGB installed? In my picture, yes, this is still a Photoshop time-lapse, here's the reminder, I tried to keep the technology angle completely out of it. I went back and forth with it a few times, but I just decided no, this is the style I want to go with. It's a simplistic silhouette, and it just tells you every important detail about his design. This is also why his utility belt is so pronounced in my design. And I don't get that with 1,000 different metal plate covering every speck of his body. I can't even make out the bat symbol here. I will not act like I can guess the plot of the movie. This entire video was just made based on the vibe Superman 2025 gave me. Keep in mind the following is just me throwing around ideas. Now looking at the plot structure of Superman, it doesn't give us a whole lot to work with. I didn't talk about this in my last video cause the story wasn't a big part of it, but as I talk about it here very promptly, skip to this time code to avoid spoilers for Superman 2025. There's a pretty big twist regarding Superman's backstory. Basically, the movie revealed that Superman's parents are actually Viltrumites and sent Clark to enslave planet Earth. Now, apart from this scene, this twist has no bearing on the story, but it fits the overall theme of the movie and later changes its main character. Also, it's something no other movie of this character has done. Batman has done the his parents are actually bad twist twice, so we need to find something else. And in a somehow trying to see plot points through my vibe check formula, I think the closest thing would be for Batman to reveal his identity. It's something we haven't seen in a Batman movie before and it would significantly affect the character going forward. Superman was a hero just starting out and while he struggled to land a single punch on his villains, the only motivation to keep going, his parents, were yanked out from under his feet. Here, however, it would be a hero who has mastered his craft, who has built a persona, a terrifying monster lurking in the shadows of Gotham, crumbling to dust. A big part of Batman, and one prominently displayed in the movies, is his usage of fear. Everyone is afraid of big bad Batman, but nobody is afraid of Bruce Wayne. I know Injustice and the Arkham games have done this twist before, and this exact voice line, but never followed up on it, except kill the Justice League. Yet here, if we take the vibe check formula from Superman, this twist would happen in the first half and make us see a Batman we have definitely never seen on a big screen before. This take would be very bold, very brave, many people would get mad about it, and it's something I can see James Gunn absolutely pull. But I can't see this change affecting the new movies going forward a bit too much, but if they decide to go into the sci-fi direction, this is gonna be the final nail in the coffin to just make him Iron Man. Also big part why I think we are dealing with an older, wiser Batman, because it's set to feature his son, Damian Wayne, and I just can't see an early 20s Batman already having a child. And it's also an indication they're pulling from some more modern source material. Because Damian Wayne was only introduced like 20 years ago, and Batman had a well-established cast by then. So I really think this Batman is not gonna start the movie alone. No Cape Crusader, no origin story of a lone vigilante. He's gonna have a well-established cast with people he cares about, who he openly cares about and communicates with. Of course, not as many as in the current comics. And while recording this, I actually thought of Gotham Knights. Yes, I know nobody liked that game, but it actually showed a pretty good modern Batman. He was still quiet, still serious, but he communicated very openly with his allies and raised them as his family. But hey, maybe he is just starting out. Maybe the reason we haven't seen him in any DCU projects is because James Gunn doesn't want to spoil him yet, it's just because he hasn't been around for long. People don't know him that much. You might be completely right, but the reason I'm not saying that is because this is an Alan Richardson Batman. Yes, that's the point of this video. Looking at a Batman I believe Alan Richardson could or should play. And I think stoic, serious, but still open to communication with his allies is peak Reacher. I know in Ministry of Ungentlemenly Warfare he was funny to a lot of people, not me, but he was clearly the standout character, because Henry Cavill just wasn't acting in this movie, I don't know why. And also, Superman's age in a new movie is kept ambiguous but is suspected to be around 25. David Corenswet was 30 when shooting. Alan Richardson is 42 now. So no, these won't be Deku and Bakugo. And even if they're gonna make him 25 through makeup or digital re-aging, just look at the guy. The picture I chose for him doesn't do him justice. He's an absolute unit. I was going back and forth on making him this Batman or absolute Batman. Now, originally I didn't want to talk about villains for this video, but if I can say one thing this movie can do to set himself apart from all other Batman media ever, James, I beg you, don't do Joker. If I hear just one fucking chuckle, during the post-credit scene I will rip my Alan Richardson body pillow apart. You don't need him, he's so overused, I'm so bored of him. Please just do one of the 1,000 villains people actually want to see and haven't seen before. I'm sorry that got a bit melodramatic. Looking at what villains we had in Superman, well, quite obviously Lex Luthor, but we don't want Batman's Pando to that. So just having a large overbearing villain and some goons that serve under him. Now, I didn't originally think of this when writing the script, but I realized that it would be a very good, this story I proposed would be very good for my favorite Batman villain, Scarecrow. I personally don't really want him to be in this universe. I think it would be perfect for Matt Reeves' the Batman. Mainly because Gotham is in such a state of paranoia and panic right now, and he would be kind of like the boogeyman going around conducting experiments on people, and Batman would slowly uncover it, making the movie an actual crime story. And Matt Reeves, please get on that, please, I want to see this. But in this movie, and not making Scarecrow and goofy guy just having a bag on his head, I can imagine him being the total tonal difference to this vibrant, colorful movie. Always shrouded in dark shadow, only accentuated by strong rim lights, using fear and paranoia to his advantage. And this would be quite literally the ultimate diss for every other Batman out there. It's this vibrant DCU Batman beating up the grimdark aesthetic Batman has had for the last 20 years in movies. I don't know, is this really good? I just think it would be such a fun level of passive aggressiveness as when people theorize Zack Snyder's Justice League version is showing Joss Whedon's cut actually as the dark timeline. Speaking of lampshading,
Batman doesn't kill people.
Because he's a pussy. He's a jackass who wrestles with murderers dressed like clowns and throws them in prison so they can break out of prison and then murder more people. How many people you think Batman's indirectly murdered by being too much of a candy ass not to kill these fools who clearly need to be smoked once and for all?
James, I beg you, don't do this in the Batman movie, even if it's true. Just don't do it, please. But let's get back to guessing villains. Alright, large overbearing villain who only wants to destroy the hero's reputation. What do we have then? And a mindless goon controlled by the bad guy with some personal connection to the hero. To me, the only one that comes to mind is Red Hood. It will also fit quite well into the theme of family this movie is showing. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is Superman 2025 just a Superman mod for Arkam Knight? Like I said, I went back and forth on the design a few times, sadly, because I was a bit insecure about how simplistic it actually looked. Here are some of the weird attempts. I'm happy with the result, the final one. I think it fits very well. Do you like the picture? Do you like the suit? Do you like the story I presented? Let me all know in the comments below. And I'm serious, I never really presented my movie ideas to people, so I really want to know, hey, would you like to see this Batman movie? I'm not too sure. Like I said, I'm more on the darker, edgier side of the Batman, but I think it could be something very interesting. And like I said, it wasn't supposed to be my favorite Batman movie, it's the movie I can imagine they would make if Alan Richardson is the Batman in the DCU. I'm really happy for him with how positively a lot of people reacted when he suggested that he could play the Batman, or that he wants to play the Batman. So I'm just happy to see where he's going. I loved Reacher, it came out of nowhere, and people were obviously excited and know him from that, so that's amazing. But let me know what you would like to see in the comments. Anything. Literally just tell me what you would like me to Photoshop. I want to know what you guys would love to see. And if you edit, subscribe. It really helps out. Look out for the next video. I really try to keep it less than a month. But with that, yeah, ciao.